Modern Control Engineering, 5th edition. 5th edition. So we'll start with chapter 1, Introduction to Control System. It has 1, 2, 3, 4 topics. Introduction to Control Systems. There's a periphery of historical developments of control theories and practices. So here's the definition. Before we can discuss control systems, some basic terminologies must be defined. So, control variable and control signal or manipulated variable. What is it? The control variable is the quantity of condition that is measured and controlled. The control signal or manipulated variable is the quantity or condition that is varied by the controller so as to affect the value of the controlled variable. Normally, the controlled variable is the output of the system. Control means measuring the value of the controlled variable of the system and applying the control signal to the system to correct or limit deviation of the measured value from a desired value. In studying control engineering, we need to define additional terms that are necessary to describe control systems. To describe control systems. So here are some additional terms for describing control system. So here we learned about control variable or a control signal, and it's a quantity or condition that is measured. The control signal or manipulated variable is the quantity or the condition that is varied by the controller so as to affect the value of controlled variable. And to describe control systems, we have some terms that are plants. A plant may be a piece of equipment or have just a set of machine parts functioning together, the purpose of which is to perform a particular operation. So here we can physically call any physical object to be controlled, such as a mechanical device, a heating furnace, a chemical reactor, which is just a set of machine parts functioning together, and its purpose is to perform a particular operation that is called a plant. So your mechanical device is also a plant. A heating furnace which has some control for operations. That is also called a plant. And the chemical reactor is also called a plant. Processes. The Merriam-Webster dictionary defines a process to be a natural, progressively continuing operation or development marked by a series of gradual changes that succeed one another in relatively fixed way and lead toward a particular result or end, or an artificial or voluntary, progressively continuing operation that consists of a series of controlled actions or movements systematically directed toward a particular result or end. So, any operation to be controlled is a process. Any operation that is controlled is a process. For example, chemical, economic, biological processes which can be controlled is called a process. So progressively continuing operation or development marked by a series of gradual changes that succeed one another in a relatively fixed way and lead towards a particular result or end, which has a particular result or end, or an artificial or voluntary, progressively continuing operation that consists of a series of controlled actions or movements systematically directed towards a particular result or end. That is called a process. Another term is a systems. So, system is a combination of components that act together and perform a certain objective. A system needs to be physical. The concept of the system can be applied to abstract, dynamic phenomena such as those encountered in economics. The word system should, therefore, be interpreted to imply physical, biological, economic, and the like systems. So your system is a combination of components that act together and perform a certain objective that act together. A system will not be physical. Those are just combination of components that acts together and performs a certain objective. And the next term is disturbances. A disturbance is a signal that tends to adversely affect the value of the output of a system. A disturbance is a signal that tends to adversely affect the value of the output of a system. If a disturbance is generated within the system, it is called internal, while an external disturbance is generated outside the system and is an output, is an input. So here disturbance is a signal that tends to adversely affect the value of the output of a system. It's gonna affect the output of a system. If it's generated within the system, then it's called an internal disturbance. If it's generated outside the system, it's called an external disturbance. So this is the disturbance term. The next one is feedback control. So feedback control refers to an operation Feedback control refers to an operation that in the presence of disturbances tends to reduce the difference between the output of a system and some reference input, and thus so on the basis of this difference. Here only unpredictable disturbances are so specified, since predictable or known disturbances can always be compensated for within the system. So this thing, feedback control, refers to an operation in the presence of disturbances tends to reduce the difference between the output of a system and some reference input. So these are some terms: 2, 3, 4, 5 to describe a control system. Here we have here we have spirit control system. You can see the diagram. We have a business systems. These are few examples of control systems. Robust control system. To go forward in the control system, first we had that need to describe the control systems, the terms. In the next video we're gonna see some examples of control systems.